Welcome to NightLore, a place where stories linger long after the last word is spoken. Tonight I have something different, something found buried in a forgotten NASA transmission log. What you're about to hear is the recovered account of an astronaut who was stationed aboard the International Space Station when something began whispering through the static. Some say it was interference. Others say it wasn't human at all. So turn down the lights, put on your headphones, and listen carefully. This is We Were Here Before You. I floated through the narrow corridor of the International Space Station, the hum of its systems filling the silence that surrounded me. Up here, silence isn't peaceful. It's a constant reminder that everything separating you from the void is thinner than your skin. My name is Alex Moran, Communications Officer for Expedition 73. If anyone ever hears this, I want you to understand what happened to us. Every day on the ISS follows the same rhythm: diagnostics, maintenance, data transmission. Life reduced to precision and procedure. I'd been up here for 114 days, long enough for the sound of my own breathing to become background noise. Earth rotated far below, blue-white and impossibly alive. From the cupola, I'd watch continents drift through the window like ghosts. The planet looked so peaceful from up here, untouched by the chaos that constantly brewed beneath its clouds. We were 6 in total. Commander Jess Carter, the steady leader everyone trusted. Engineer Mia Torres, sharp, quiet, methodical. Biologist Daniel Havers, who talked too much but laughed easily. And the rest of us professionals, who knew our place in the delicate clockwork of survival. The new addition to our mission was my project, an experimental radio telescope array bolted to the ISS hull. It was designed to detect pulsars, dead stars that beat like cosmic metronomes. My job was to monitor the signals, decode patterns, and forward anomalies to mission control. Most nights, I'd stay up longer than I should, watching the faint green lines dance across the monitor. The rhythmic signals of neutron stars had always calmed me, predictable, unchanging. I suppose that's why what happened next unsettled me so deeply. On mission day 115, at exactly 03:47 UTC, I logged a new signal. It was faint, just a whisper under the static, but something about its rhythm was wrong. Pulsars emit in consistent intervals, like the beat of a perfect clock. But this, it hesitated, paused, adjusted. It was as if something had blinked. I saved the data, tagged it for review, and moved on. We pick up strange things all the time: reflections, cross signals, even random noise from solar activity. But as I floated back to my quarters that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that it had been aware of me. The next morning, I returned to the communications module. The anomaly was still there, subtle but present. I increased the gain, filtered out cosmic noise, and isolated the frequency. The pattern repeated, but not identically. Each cycle contained minor variations, pulses too deliberate to be random. Jess passed behind me, glancing at the display. "Another ghost signal?" she asked. "Probably," I said. "Could be a reflection from the new array." She shrugged and floated away. But I knew reflections didn't shift their intervals like this. By day 118, the signal had strengthened. It followed us as we orbited. Wherever the ISS went, the pulse remained locked. I ran it through our pattern recognition software. The analysis returned a flag I'd never seen before intentional modulation detected. I didn't tell anyone, not yet. That night, while the others slept, I listened to it again. Through the static, There was a cadence almost human in its rhythm. I slowed it down, amplified the waveform. For a moment, I swore I heard something beneath the hum. A shape in the noise. A voice, maybe? But when I replayed the file, it was gone. I logged the anomaly again and tried to sleep. But sleep doesn't come easy when you start to believe the dark might be listening back. By the end of that week, the ISS began experiencing subtle electrical fluctuations. The lights flickered, the ventilation hummed irregularly, systems glitched and reset at random. Maya spent hours checking the power grid. "It's nothing physical," she said, frowning. "It's like interference, but it's not coming from us." I didn't tell her that the interference matched the timing of the signal. At 02:14, the anomaly shifted again. The pulses stretched into longer bursts. The rhythm slowed, almost mimicking a heartbeat. My heartbeat. I removed my headset, rubbed my temples, and tried to steady my breath. When I put it back on, the rhythm had matched me again. I backed away from the console. The next day, I finally told Jess. She listened patiently, then nodded. "Run diagnostics again. It's probably crosstalk between channels." I did, over and over. Everything checked out. That night, the air felt heavy. The temperature dropped 2 degrees, though the sensors read normal. As I floated toward the cupola, I caught my reflection in the window, only for it to flicker. Just for a second, my reflection didn't move with me. I stared frozen as the stars beyond pulsed faintly in time with the signal. Mia was the first to crack. She came to me pale, trembling. "I heard it," she whispered. Through the comms, a voice. It said my name. I checked the logs. Nothing. The channel had been silent. That evening, as we ate, she stared out the viewport, barely touching her food. "It's like... it knows we're here," she said softly. Jess gave her a warning look. "We're professionals, Torres. Don't start losing it." But even Jess looked uneasy when the cabin lights dimmed without command. Later that night, I checked the array again. The anomaly had evolved. The signal now carried harmonic overtones, multiple frequencies layered like chords. When analyzed spectrally, the pattern formed a shape. Not random, not natural. It looked like a face. Daniel thought it was pareidolia, our brains, making sense of noise. But when he ran his own analysis, the same pattern appeared. And beneath it, a distinct 3-word phrase encoded in the transmission intervals. We were here. We stared at the words in silence. No one spoke. After that, none of us slept properly. Every sound became suspect. The hum of the fans, the hiss of oxygen, they all seemed to whisper something just beyond hearing. I started waking in the middle of the night to static crackling through the intercom, even when all systems were off. Sometimes I'd hear faint knocking from outside the hull. No one wanted to check. 2 days later, the signal erupted. Every system on the ISS flickered simultaneously. Power surged, alarms blared, and the communications module went red. Through the noise, I heard it. Not a random pattern this time. A voice. Distorted guttural, stretched by distance, but unmistakably speaking. We were here before you. The words repeated, layered over themselves, like echoes from deep space. The tone wasn't angry, it was ancient, cold, indifferent. Then Mia screamed. She pointed to the viewport. Outside against the backdrop of stars, something shimmered, a faint outline, almost humanoid, tethered to nothing moving, just beyond the reflection of our own station. For an instant, I thought it was another spacecraft. But then it turned its head, and it looked like her. Her own face stared back through the glass, pale and motionless lips moving in silence. The lights failed. Everything plunged into darkness. Only the red emergency LEDs glowed, casting the cabin in a sickly hue. When power returned, the reflection was gone. But the transmission continued steady and unyielding. We were here before you. Again and again. We couldn't take it anymore. Systems were feeling oxygen fluctuating. The only variable left was the telescope array. Disconnect it, Jess ordered. Her voice was shaking. Now. I hesitated. It went against every protocol, every ounce of training. But I obeyed. I floated to the console, hands trembling, and began shutting down the transmitters one by one. Each time I killed a channel, the signal's pitch changed lower, angrier. When I reached the final array, the comm speakers erupted into a roar of distortion. My ears rang. For a second, the voice cut through again, clearer than ever. You do not belong. I slammed the final switch. Silence. Everything stopped. The lights stabilized. The systems hummed normally again. For the first time in weeks, the ISS was quiet. Mission Control's delayed transmission came through hours later, asking for updates. We said nothing about what we'd heard. Jess made it clear the event would remain classified. But as I floated in the cupola that night, staring out at the earth below, I couldn't shake the feeling that silence was not safety. It was listening. It's been 32 days since we cut the array. Mission Control thinks everything's fine, but it's not. Mia avoids the windows now. Daniel keeps to himself. Jess doesn't sleep. And me, I still hear it. Sometimes when the comms are quiet, the static returns. A faint pulse buried under the background radiation. The same 3 words stretched beyond recognition, but still there. We were here before you. I've stopped logging them. What's the point? The transmissions don't come from space anymore. They come from inside. Last night I woke to find the cupola windows fogged from the inside. There were fingerprints, not ours. Long, thin, pressed against the glass, from where no one should be. I wiped them away. This morning they were back. I think they never left. And sometimes, when the hum of the ISS quiets for just a heartbeat, I can almost hear them breathing, waiting. Because maybe the silence isn't empty after all. If you are still listening, thank you for staying until the end. The signal Alex heard was never publicly acknowledged. The ISS logs from that period were marked classified, and no mention of the anomaly has ever appeared in NASA's archives. But sometimes, when you tune a radio between stations, you can still catch it. A faint rhythm, a whisper. We were here before you. Sleep well, if you can. You've been listening to NightLore, where every story hides a truth you were never meant to hear.